All right, let's talk about the Drupal framework. Why do we use Drupal anyway? Well, Drupal gives us a lot of functionality out of the box. It's a completely pluggable architecture with a data abstraction layer. It makes it easy to upgrade. It's secure. There's a huge community behind it, as you already know, widely adopted, wonderfully scalable. There's a fantastic user management and permission system, and it allows for third-party tool integration. It has HTML5 and CSS support. It's just flexible. It's a flexible framework right out of the box, and more flexible than other content management systems. So as a site builder, for instance, you get a tremendous amount of flexibility right out of the box with Drupal. And as you start to add contributed and custom modules to your site, well then you can pretty much do anything you want. So that functionality out of the box is robust, but what draws most people to Drupal is the flexibility and the extensibility that Drupal offers. Well, what are modules? Modules are files that include code to implement functionality that are triggered by something that happens. We're going to talk a lot about triggers in this course. There are core modules that implement the basics of Drupal functionality and contributed modules that you can add to implement extra functionality. Modules are made up of PHP, YAML, and Twig files. We'll cover all of those as we go. Modules extend or customize Drupal's functionality, and again, it's always a triggered event by something that occurs in Drupal. So what modules do you already use? I use a ton of modules in my site building and development work. Devel, which we've talked about. The date module, which now of course is in core. I use administration toolbar. The 5-star voting API. I think we all use entity reference now. And now that views is in core, well, again, that's a module that we've all used for a long time and will continue to use. Stop for just a minute and think about the modules that you use. The point here is to show that modules are used to add any type of functionality to the Drupal platform, and they can be very small or they can be very big. For instance, in Drupal 7, one of the modules I used consistently was Scheduler. Not a big module, but it allowed me to schedule nodes for whenever I wanted. When you think about the modules you use, some of them are utility modules, some of them are their own mini applications, some of them make visible changes to the user interface, some of them modify existing functionality, some add field types. Again, if you've been using Drupal for any length of time, you know that Drupal modules can do just about anything you want. For example, the core module Views creates database queries. It generates pages and blocks. And where would we be without views? Devel, for instance, adds the ability to generate a lot of placeholder content. Again, making it more simple to build our sites, troubleshoot our sites, before we take the time to actually enter content. So, modules are pretty essential to Drupal site building and Drupal site development. One of the questions you always have to ask yourself then is, what do you want to do? Whether you're a current project maintainer, whether you want to change the functionality of a certain aspect of Drupal, build new functionality, whether you want to contribute a module at some point. Talking about contributed modules, as you probably know, modules are downloaded through Drupal.org. They are not backwards compatible, so anything we build for Drupal 8 can't be used in Drupal 7, etc. The community attempts to limit similar modules, and you probably know that. You can fork a module, although that's generally frowned upon and updates to modules won't be applied to your module automatically. It can confuse potential users and kind of goes against the spirit of collaboration of open source. So the community attempts to limit the similar modules. Forking is okay. It's probably not the best Drupal way. Rather than forking an entire module, you might want to consider the bits that you need to use. Can they be abstracted and provided as a module that depends on the other module? One thing to remember as we talk about modules, especially with contributed modules, you'll want to subscribe to the security alerts at the modules project page. All right, that's a quick reminder about what modules are and where to get them. Let's talk about the page call process starting in the next video.